Just going in like that then, yeah.
Should we do an introduction today? Should we do an intro?
Do you still put music on the front of the podcast?
No.
Yeah, he went through a bit of a stage where he tried to put a bit of a cool fucking vibe on it, but do you know when the cool vibe didn't match the two old blokes, guy? It was kind of disconnected.
Have you changed your name again, or does that just automatically come up all the time now?
It just automatically comes up. If it was a smile on it,
45-year-old grumpy old man.
let's just keep it on.
No, he's frozen.
Oh, he's shit Wi-Fi again.
I'm not frozen.
You were?
You were.
Go on then, do your intro.
Can't be asked now. Right, Sky. Question number 1. In particular, women 40 plus, perimenopausal onwards, and how to handle advice on increasing protein, lower carbs, if she would advise this at all.
This is directly a question for me.
You.
Feel so special. I wouldn't advise lower carbs unless it was someone's preference. There's no reason to do low carb just because someone's perimenopausal or menopausal. What I'll say universally, and this comes up all the time, people are like, what is the best diet for menopause? What is the best diet for PCOS? What is the best diet for X, Y, and Z? The best diet, on the whole, that comes up time and time again in the research, is a Mediterranean-style diet, which is what we tell people to do all the time. Eat more fruit, eat more veg, have more whole grains, throw in some nuts, some seeds, some beans, stuff like that. Try not to have loads of ultra-processed food. So that's what we want to be encouraging people to do. You don't need to do anything fancy. You don't need to go low carb. It's about the quality of the carbs. So for me, with any client, with that in mind, I'm looking at where they're at currently and what their meals look like now, what they are tending towards more, and if there's a way that instead of removing something, you could maybe swap it slightly. So bread's a really easy one. It's like, okay, you have egg on toast and you have white bread. Could we swap it for a whole grain or sourdough or something like that? It's going to give you more fiber, more of a complex form of carbohydrate. And then the same for the protein, like what are their main protein sources? Are they even getting them regularly? The easiest way to get more protein in is to increase the protein that you're already having. So if you already eat chicken, just eat more. If you already eat beef, eat a little bit more. If you already eat fish, eat a bigger portion of that. So it's just going to come back to meeting them where they're currently at and then finding those really easy, low-hanging bits of fruit of, can we swap this? Can we make this a little bit bigger? It's not, we need to completely change everything. That'd be nice.
Well, side questions that is, it was a conversation we had this morning on the group call from this person as well. And I think it's quite a relevant question. The question a lot of coaches ask themselves is, I want to learn more about nutrition to feel confident in what I'm saying and doing with my current clients. Should I do it? Yeah, let's start with that. Should I do it? Is there a need to do a nutrition qualification to help, let's call it what it is, Gen Pop?
As a nutritionist, I will honestly say no. I don't think you do. I don't think, 90% of like the knowledge that I have, the really in-depth stuff, I don't use. There'll be certain like random cases and random things that will pop up where I'm like, ooh, I actually know about this. Here's some things, very specific things that might help. But generally, it's not necessary. It's not needed. And we say this all the time, but nutrition is more about behavior change. It's not that people are struggling with nutrition because you don't have enough knowledge. They're struggling with nutrition because they don't know how to change their behaviors. And it's very basic behaviors that will give them the biggest bang for their buck. It's just that they don't know how to implement that, or they struggle with that. Not because of lack of knowledge, but for emotional reasons, or self-limiting beliefs, past experiences, all that kind of thing. So our job as a coach is not to be an expert in nutrition, as much as I have made that my thing, but it's to be an expert in, how do I get this person to start making positive change? How do I help them start believing in themselves that they can do that and build their confidence that way? So I think if you constantly feel like you're being asked questions that you don't know the answer to, then yes, maybe learning a bit more about that specific thing. following people that talk about this a lot, reading their blog posts, articles, being on their email lists. There's plenty of people that I think are experts that I consume their content, their YouTube, their emails, their articles on their website, and maybe joining like someone that's got a membership kind of site where they post stuff. If it's women's health, there's people like Hazel Wallace, Dr. Hazel Wallace. She's got like a monthly membership. It's like £10 a month, and she posts articles on there. So there's loads of ways that you can get more information without having to spend money and time on a qualification that you'll probably use about 20% of.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree.
It's the same as strength and conditioning. Unless you're going to pivot into strength and conditioning, and that's your whole marketing. Like my whole thing is around nutrition. That is mainly what I do. Yeah, I do a bit of in-person coaching and programming still, but I don't really talk about that because my bread and butter is nutrition. So if you're a personal trainer, your bread and butter is getting people to engage with exercise more, to move more, and then the habits that are around that. You don't need an extra qualification to do that.
I agree. I think it's very niche dependent, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, I was having a discussion with one of the guys yesterday, and this is quite specific. We were talking about the programming methodology behind CrossFit, and there's no periodization behind it, and blah blah blah. And there's it's all relative to the person and the market you're positioning into, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Same with nutrition. Now I get it. Like from this person's perspective, it's I want to talk about, for example, people and females going through menopause, and I want to talk about that in my marketing, but I don't want to say something that's wrong, and I want to feel confident in what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? And I think people they need to be 10 steps ahead of their clients. Well, actually, they just need to be like 1 or 2 steps ahead of their clients, realistically, in regards to knowledge.
Yeah.
You know what I
mean? Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the difficulty is you're going to get clients that constantly come to you with fad after bullshit article, after my friend's doing this. These things constantly come. So you feel like you're just getting a barrage of things that are opposite to what you said, which makes you feel like you must be the one that's wrong, instead of it just being, this is the way that it is. It's constant misinformation. And you're having to try and get your clients to come back to, okay, let's focus on this thing. Don't worry about that. Focus on this. You're constantly bringing them back to this. And that's the hard part of our job. That's why behavior change is so hard, because people are always looking for the quicker thing, the quicker route, the easier route, rather than do this thing consistently. And when you fuck up, come back and do it again. And when you fuck up again, you keep coming back to it. You don't need to change it. You don't need to do anything differently. And that's the difficult part. And it makes you doubt yourself. But yeah, you're right. I think if you do want to market, like say menopausal women, or work with women with PCOS or whatever it is, then you probably should know about that topic. But again, you don't need to have a qualification.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it makes coaches feel better to be able to say that. But actually, if you looked at someone that has a qualification and someone that hasn't, their knowledge base probably isn't that different.
Yeah, because even like research is constantly changing. There's constantly new developments, and so that I'm sure, like from even when you did yours, 1,000,001 different things have changed and developed, and new theories have come up, and new research has been proven, and some things have been debunked, and some things have been strengthened. And do you know what I mean? It's constant, isn't it?
And also, there's that one ever-changing thing that we just cannot control for, and that's human behavior.
Yeah.
So even if a research study comes and shows this, that still doesn't mean that because there was 1,000 people in this study that it's going to work for my client. I can go, oh, this study, they did this, and this is what they kind of saw. They might still go, yeah, I'm not doing that though. I can't do that. So you still got to work with the person in front of you. So you can have all the knowledge in the world, but that doesn't then mean that you're all of a sudden, people are going to all of a sudden listen to every single thing that you do and it's going to work for them. You're still going to have to work with that individual and their experience and their preferences and all of that stuff. So yeah, I think people do try and use qualifications to plug holes in their confidence.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas if they just spent time coaching and getting to know people, asking the right questions and trying to understand that person in front of them rather than trying to understand the thing that they're going through, menopause is going to be different for everybody. Different things that people go through are going to manifest in different ways. So instead of being an expert on that thing, have some knowledge about that thing and then be an expert on the person in front of you. Talk to them because they're the expert on them, but that would serve you better, putting the time into that way.
Brill. Thanks so much.
What are the key things my clients should know when starting out with me? And what is the best way to present that information in a way that's easy to digest?
What are the key things? I think the first thing is like, how does everything work? Where is everything? I think you've got to take two different perspectives here. Your natural perspective is going to be, I want you to know this. I want you to know about energy balance and this and that and programming, all this stuff. And yeah, you do, but not on day 2 and not on day 3 when they don't know where the program is on the app, or they don't know how to contact you, or they don't know how to book in for their sessions, or what the hell is this check-in thing? Why should I do it? So I think it's thinking about, I said this morning on another call, is like literally assume people know absolutely zero about working with a coach, zero about your app, zero about the emails they're receiving, zero about check-ins and Calendly and MailChimp and Everfit and autoflows and everything. Assume that you're like onboarding like an employee almost into your business, and you need to go, this is what this is for, this is what you're going to get. And then think about the capacity of people. Like, they work probably full time, 40, 50 hours a week. If they've got kids, take away the rest of the time. You know, the amount of time that they've got to give their attention to these things is going to be small. So it needs to be delivered in a small, drip fed way. And you've also got to think about what people want. Like, if someone's coming to you for training and supporting nutrition, they don't want to wait for that. They want to know where that stuff is. Do you know what I mean? Whether that's online or you're coaching with someone face to face. So I think you've got to kind of have that perspective. And it's very difficult because you probably spend a bunch of fucking time designing all this stuff and writing the emails, and you're in it, aren't you? So it's literally front of mind, but for them, it's zero. They're going from zero. So I think start off with, how does everything work? Where is everything first? Then worry about, like, let me educate my clients that's going to help in the coaching process after. Now that, I'm not going to give you a big long list of these things, but that is going to be slightly different for everyone, whether you're online, nutrition, face-to-face, small group, blah, blah, blah. But the first week is like, how do I work with you? Where are these essential things? How do I get them? How do they work? And that could literally be, here's the app, here's how you download it, this is where you find your program, this is how to get in contact with me. If you're booking sessions, this is how to book a session, this is what to expect. That's it. And that's quite a lot in the first week. So I would say, easy way to digest. Everybody's different. Some people will like a short 60-second video of like a screenshot or a video showing them how to use the app. Some people want it in bullet points, but you can deliver that in multiple ways where it's going to appeal to different people. So whether that's on an email or in your app or whatever. So it depends what you're using right now. But yeah, that would be my answer to that question.
Yeah.
Anything to add on that? Anything to expand?
No. Don't listen to half of it anyway. Go on, Sky. Do you know where we're up to, Sky?
Yeah. What is the main part of your job which gives you the most satisfaction?
Working with me.
My first reply to that was going to be not being on a call with Nick. Going to be my first reply. These two that kind of combine with each other. I think the one that gives me the most satisfaction, where I can probably sit there and feel most fulfilled and smug when it happens, is when I see the light bulb moment of a coach who have really put all of their all of their energy and focus on expectations and outcomes. And as a result of that, their business has been up and down constantly. So their confidence and self-doubt and self-belief has been up and down. Because all of their focus is on outcomes, and for them to turn that round, to start to accept and understand that running a business is just repeatable processes, and focusing on them repeatable processes over time gets you huge success. For some people, that success is rapid. For others, it might take a little bit longer. But I feel with the way that most of the industry of mentors portray it is that it's easy and there is no problem just focusing on the outcome, and it should all be about the amount of people you have in and the amount of money and all of that. But I feel like it's just that the most fulfilling moment is when people go, actually, I need to stop being so focused on having these expectations. And as a byproduct of that is that you're solely focused on this process over time. Because what happens with that is the coach becomes more confident. It limits them self-limiting beliefs. They don't come up as much. If something goes well, that's fine. If something goes bad, that's fine. It's all part of that process. And what I find is that when most people kind of hit that point, they see the most amount of growth, not only in their business, but more so in themselves. And then the second point is, as a byproduct of that, is they go and get that mortgage. They go and open that gym. They go and do the things that they've always dreamt of, but never really believed that they would be able to do. So I think, yeah, it's probably a fairly boring answer, but it's when them light bulb moments happens that actually it doesn't have to be real highs and real lows at points, and we can just manage this. And some people will say it depends on the person but I think if you operate a business, that's the type of mindset to have, and where I see and we see probably most amount of progress in some people. So yeah, that's probably the most fulfilling part of the job, because I'll categorically say now 99.9% of PTs are full of self-doubts, full of self-limiting beliefs, and it can be a lonely place. So to see that happen is dead rewarding, because I know what that meant to me when it did happen to me. Anything you would add to that, Sky, Nick?
No.
I think that's it. I think it is just that kind of, when you see that haze of self-doubt start to lift and people get in return for the effort that they're putting in and putting in the right direction. And I don't mean returning in like money, I mean like the confidence of like, oh my God, people are interested in working with me. I am helping people and I am getting results and I am getting good feedback.
Yeah, and do you know, another part of this is that I always said that when I started doing mentoring or business coaching, is that the knock-on impact that has. So like if we're guiding people to become, yes, better operators of businesses, but more so improve the way they coach, communicate, and get the best out of clients so they can get the best out of themselves, all of that type of stuff, the knock-on impact of that is huge. So then also, I don't want to sound like a cliche knobhead here, but when they start to come onto calls with stories about their clients, that's a really good part of the job as well, because it still feels like I'm still coaching a client as well. So I think that's really fulfilling. Really, really good part of the job. So yeah, let's not get too deep though. Who's asking the next question?
Why? When do you start feeling like a good coach?
I saw this question coming off the back of the other one. This is just the proof, isn't it? Like we always have this self-doubt, most coaches do. I think it's kind of what we've just spoken about, is when you start out, you're pulled in a lot of different directions by what other people are doing and what you see other coaches doing. And we look at other coaches and we see busy and think, oh, they are successful, they've got more knowledge, they're doing everything right. Whereas until you've been a busy PT that wasn't getting people results, which I have been, and you had like really bad retention, you just had really good leads coming in, you don't understand, but you will start to understand that doesn't mean that someone's a good coach. I think you start to feel like a good coach when you sit back and really take stock of what your values are, what kind of coach you want to be, how you want to run your business, because there's no real right or wrong way. There are better ways to do things. Like we talk a lot about like specific things like don't take block payments and don't take cash. You're better off doing monthly DDs and stuff like that. There are better ways of doing things, but really it does come down to the kind of business that you want to have and the kind of coach that you want to be and what do you want to be known for. If you are all in on fat loss and you love that and you want to be known as a fat loss coach, then fine. If that aligns with your values and you feel good every day. If you want to do something else, as long as that aligns with you and you're not just doing it because you think you should. So getting really clear on your values. Does your business run in line with your values? Do you run a business that gives you satisfaction at the end of the week? You can sit down and be like, yeah, some really good moments in there. Yeah, there was some it is stressful. Sometimes there's stressful things that happen. If my phone cut out, if you know that you are taking people closer to where they want to be, and you can see their confidence growing and their progress kind of, I guess, increasing in whether it's behavior change, whether it's fitness, whether it's their consistency with their habits, whatever it may be, that's you being a good coach. If you have your client's best interests at the center of what you do, and you're always kind of touching base and checking in, you're not just being transactional, then I think once you get to that place, you start to actually feel like a good coach then. But with that being said, you will still have like 2 years in, 3 years in, 5 years in, 10 years in, you'll still have weeks where you think, I'm a shit coach. This isn't going very well. Will you ever feel completely at ease? No, but you will over time. I think when you start to run a business your way and do things the way that you want to do them and see that you're getting results for people, you'll start to feel a lot better.
I think seeing that as a positive is important as well. See, I think the way I used to see it is I used to always probably be hard on myself, be my own worst critic. And I think most coaches are. But I think flipping that completely and going, right, are you going through a phase where you're second guessing yourself, your coaching skills and how you're coaching and all of that? Well, good. Embrace that. What can you learn from it and what can you do to change it?
Yeah.
The crux of it is that I think the way you look at it, and the two things that come to mind from what you were saying then is, let's not shy away from the fact that a sign of being a good coach is getting good results with clients getting decent results. Let's not shy away from that. But also there's an element of a good sign of being a decent coach is clients who are building self-efficacy. Does that mean if you've got a client who's been with you for 5 years that you're not a good coach? Does it? Fuck. It depends on the relationship and all of that. But I think they're a couple of things that stick out in my mind. But embrace that. Embrace the fact that I think sometimes we're really hard on ourselves to want to be the perfect coach and all of that. Embrace the fact that you feel a bit uncertain about it and see how you can get better constantly.
Yeah.
Next one, I feel like my clients aren't utilising the videos and handbooks that I've created in our group for them. I know that them using these things will help them, but how can I encourage this more without being annoying and putting them off?
I think the first thing I would say is, how have you communicated it to them, first of all? How have you led them? Because I'm sure you've told them it's beneficial for them, but how have you created the need or the want or the desire to go there and take it on board? What's it going to help them with? What's it going to solve? What's it going to do to create some clarity behind it? So the biggest thing is that, to be honest, it's really difficult, especially with long-standing clients, when they're not used to these new things. They're used to coming and training with you and doing the thing and whatnot, and then there's this extra stuff and they haven't used before. And I think we could be guilty of kind of, right, I've done it, I've ticked that box, it's all there, go for your life kind of thing, without kind of, again, let's identify. And you could maybe mix it in with a bit of a challenge or a focus for the month, or take it from the collected check-in feedback and kind of present that in a certain way and link it so it's easy. So I think it's just, there's a few different ways you can do it, but it's got to be client-centered like everything. So, and also, I think if you go, hey, here's a big fucking library of everything, or where do I start? So I think making it meaningful and creating the need for it is the first place to start with that stuff, personally. Anything you'd add?
No, I think again, I think you have to realize that you can make all the videos, the resources, the webinars in the world, and know that they will help your clients, and they're still not going to use them. So everything that you just said, yes, but I think sometimes it is still pointing them just back to it and being like, I've already made a resource for this that I think will be really helpful. Try and schedule some time into read through it, watch it, whatever it might be. When you're out on your walk later, put your headphones in, have a listen, and then come back to me and give me some of your key takeaways. So then you're giving them that task, but you're also getting them to check back in on it. Just kind of putting it there or telling them to go and use that. Again, people will either make excuses or they'll forget, they won't have time. So if you can add some form of, right, we're going to discuss this in the next call, or later on today when you've listened, give me some takeaways, that then just improve the success of them doing that. Yeah, that's the only thing that I'd add.
Well, difference of being
Not
coached.
yours. It's not yours, you little knobhead. It's
Who is it?
Sky's job to ask them. I genuinely thought we had a system going. I thought we've done all right. We found our feet, and then you went and ruined it.
I put you on pause. You've gone on way too long. You've gone away.
I did hesitate. I'm sorry. I didn't realise I was next in the queue. Thank you, Nick, for stepping in. But I will take this question.
Yeah. Fuck you, Anthony. Fuck you.
What is the difference of being coached and being coachable?
Probably the best way to explain it is that one's an external process and one's you internally. So like being coached is about the external process where someone is helping you to kind of learn, improve, and trying to guide you on that process. So that's kind of an external process. You're being coached. Being coachable is more of an internal quality, I would say, that reflects kind of how open you are to that process. So probably an example of that is like the openness to you willing to learn, the openness to you accepting feedback, the openness to making changes based on the input from other people or the guidance from other people and all of that. So yeah, I'd say that the way to differentiate them is a little bit kind of, one's like an external process, so one's coaching you, being coached, and the other one is the coachable one is kind of you as a person a lot of the time, and it's where a lot of people do struggle, if I'm honest.
I struggle with that this weekend.
Being coached, being coachable.
Yeah. I really like on the Friday, on Saturday. Because I haven't been coached for God knows how long. Like I don't know how long it actually. Because I don't really get coached when I'm in the sessions. It took like Saturday to kind of adjust to that a little bit. It really did, because we had people in there that weren't coached. So for context, I did my level 1 again, and there were people in that weren't coaches at all, like weren't PTs, weren't coaches, just kind of doing it for like the interest of it. That was like I was way better yesterday because I just kind of I didn't catch myself until after, like in the evening. I was thinking over the day. I was like, that was frustrating me for some reason. I was like, oh, yeah. And then yesterday I was much better. I was like, yeah, cool. But I really struggled with that on Saturday. It's interesting that question. Yeah.
That is interesting because you would say, right, there's a bit of ego coming in there.
100%, of course.
Because you're not an egotistic person at all, to be fair to you. It's probably the biggest compliment I've ever given you, but you're not, are you? To be fair. That surprised me.
Honestly, I really, really struggled. Like,
do you think it was maybe the delivery of the coaching rather than being coached? It was how they.
Maybe, but even from the guys that were taking the session, not when like I'm sitting down, I'm listening, and part of it was like I literally heard it all before and done it, but it was great to refresh. But then in the actual sessions, like when we were going through the practical side, even with some of the guys, I was like, I could feel myself getting a bit frustrated, and I couldn't figure out why. Like I thought I was just in literally bad mood or something. But then thinking back, like on the evening on Saturday, I was like, I haven't actually been properly coached for God knows, I don't know how long. So yeah, it's interesting.
Right, we need to get a move on because there's a lot of questions left, like a lot.
Good week, busy week.
Yeah. It's your question to Sky, Nick, which is ironic, seeing as though the question is pretty funny and aimed towards us.
What's your take on the typical career path of PT gym owner? Having went down the mentorship path yourselves, what do you see as other routes of progression for PTs for when they get a bit grey? The unsociable hours are taking their toll and they want to progress. That's not saying any of you are old and grey, by the way. You don't see many older PTs. Where do they all go? Okay. There you go. That was a struggle to.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that people think that that's a typical career path like PT to gym owner, because they're totally different jobs. Like owning a facility and running a business inside someone else's facility and working with people versus managing bottom lines, even though you do that to an extent in your own business, it's totally different. Unless that has always been your dream, I don't see why that has to be the typical career path. Like some people never want to really be a one-to-one PT. They want to own a gym. They want to do group stuff. Um, so yeah, I don't see that as the typical career path, but maybe that is what people think is like success. I think it's very different now because you've got, if you do want to work less hours in person, you've got the option to do small group or do more class style stuff and condense your hours, see more people, or you've also got moving people online so you can pick your own hours. You don't have to be at a gym at 6 in the morning. You can be at home with a coffee at 9 a.m., doing programming and stuff that way. So I feel like there's a lot of other options, but mentoring is probably what I would say is the typical role because you've got skin in the game, you've got that experience. So you get that in any industry. If you've been within an industry for a decade, you're then going to move up the ranks and help people that are coming in that are new. So for me, I don't think gym owner is the natural route. I think it's more, it might be having a facility. It might be having other coaches work underneath you. It might be working with other coaches inside someone else's gym, but it might be more around, okay, education. It might be doing mentoring. It might be doing a PT course and training up new PTs. I guess it's whatever your passion is. If your passion is working with people, then work with people. If your passion is education, then maybe you go into education. I know a few older PTs, but I know what you mean. There's not like many 60-year-old PTs sitting out in pure gym. But
I think
what's your guys'
I think people move out of PT not because they don't love PT, because they can't manage the business side of things. And that's not even actually from earning money. It's actually from like what this person said here in regards to having the work-life balance, having the security,
Yeah, I think
being a plan for the future. So I don't even think it's the typical thing that you might think. It's more about managing the business, because as soon as you go into a gym, you're not going to be coaching. You're going to be well, if you are going to be coaching, you're going to be very little amount of coaching. If you're going into open your own facility, you're moving into an operator role. But there's so many different ways you can earn money in the fitness industry now. It's ridiculous. Like, it's crazy how much variety. Like, for yourself, Sky, how many different things have you got going on that all kind of complement each other and give you variety, and give you a career? So
And
so many options now.
it's fairly young, isn't it? So you look back as an industry, is the PTs that I started out with, there is not many left, mainly because like the good coaches are left, but the ones that were quite transactional with what they did, they never wanted to learn or accept. They never wanted to accept that they needed to develop. It was all driven by ego back then. It was all driven on a completely different narrative and reason why they were in the industry in a lot of ways. And I remember the majority of PTs that I first started out with in Fitness First, are probably 10 out of them 16 are no longer in the industry. They were all older than me. And that's because they wasn't willing to accept that they needed to change. Whereas now, I think you've got a lot more people within the industry who are accepting they're willing to change. They need to invest in themselves in a business sense, because all we did back then was invest in a technical sense. That didn't operate in business, which is why most businesses didn't earn the money they wanted and it was unpredictable. Hence why a lot of the older PTs fucked off into a more predictable wage. So I think it's a different beast now compared to late 90s, early 2000s when we were all starting. So I think that's the difference. I don't think you've really seen a wave of the older PTs properly who have actually invested into accepting they need to improve their business as much as the technical knowledge. So I think that's another reason why.
Wait until 2044 and see what we're all doing then.
And me and Nick will still be here. Next question, Nick. Favourite lift?
What's your favourite lift?
Come on, be quick.
Are you talking to me now? Who's the question?
Is it my question or your question? Who's asking the question?
I'll go back squat. It's my favourite lift. I know that's really boring, but like I'd like a deadlift, but my deadlifts aren't very strong, so they frustrate me. But I like a back squat.
Deadlift.
Deadlift. Nick, power clean.
No, snatch.
Okay.
What is wrong with you? Do you just wake up in the morning and go, how can I make my day shit? I know, I'll go do some snatches.
Hey, some people like a challenge guy, right?
Honestly.
Do a deadlift.
That's like, yeah, easy, simple, conventional.
Deadlift.
Next question.
Who's asking it? I've lost track.
You're asking guy, I think.
Okay.
What's the best software for delivering educational content in a drip form?
Okay, so it is
feeding form.
Software for delivering educational content in drip form. So either something like an email software so people can get it drip fed over email, or if you want it as like a course-based delivery, like something like Kajabi, Teachable, that type of stuff, you could do it on there. But MailChimp Active Campaign to drip feed on an email perspective, if you want like an actual resource center, Kajabi, Teachable, what are the other ones?
I think this person is already using Kajabi and is moving away from Kajabi to give you some context.
Okay. So yeah, I would look at a piece of software like Everfit that can do it all. Yeah, and in terms of delivery of videos, probably best on Loom, Zoom, something like that. Next one.
Who's asking it? Fucking lost, are you?
I am lost.
Sam, go to Sam Kenyon.
Any tips for talking at events?
Any tips? No one knows what you're about to say, so if you fuck it up, no one's really going to know. That's the first tip. That's the first one. I think the second one would be try and have a very clear 1 or 2 points you want people to walk away with. That's really, really hard. Less is more on slides. Talking to ourselves here.
I'm just getting better at it, but yeah, I agree with that.
Less is more on slides. I think kick off the session with some level of buy-in and engagement and rationale from the group, so they're invested in what's to come. Those would be kind of my go-tos. I'm interested if anyone else got any others.
The only other thing that I would add to that is if you can, tell a story with it. With what you're trying to deliver. It's really hard sometimes if you're delivering something like a how-to or something like that. But if you can tell a bit of a story behind it that connects something within the talk and with the audience, I think that really helps. And then the only other thing that I would say is if you want them to physically take something from it, like share something that's gonna. You always know if something's landing if people get the phones out and take pictures of the fucking slides, don't you? So that type of stuff. Sometimes people are there for that. They're there for a laugh. Like it depends where you are as well in the day. But like be wary as, let's say, for example, if you're third or fourth on, probably people are going to need to be woken up, have a bit of a laugh, moved about. So I'd be conscious of that, of where you're on. So yeah, I would just say them.
I would say as well is, I think I've been to talks where people come on and it's like they would need to assert themselves of like, this is why you should listen to me. I've done all these qualifications. And sometimes I sit there and think, I don't give a shit. What do you do? Where have you come from? For an example, last year at the conference when I did the talk about nutrition, I think I started it by bringing up all the old meal plans that I used to send out to my clients from like 2014. All the shit that I used to say that like makes me cringe now. Not to be like I'm an expert, to be like this is where I was and I move forward from there. So you know, it's showing that journey. So I think if you can do that and be like, this is my journey, this is why I'm here to talk about it, rather than, you know, I've got 3 qualifications and I've been in the business this many years. Like, yeah, of course, put that in, but also, what's your story? What have you come through? A little bit of that, I think, can really get people engaged with what you're about to say more.
Great shout. Great shout. Am I asking the question now?
Yeah, it's this guy.
I can spend hours making the perfect schedule, but how do I get the kahunas to stick to it?
Like a honey. Oh, that's a tough one. I think you have to be really, really honest with yourself about why you're not. Why are you avoiding it? It might be that the schedule is not perfect because that doesn't exist. It might be that the schedule is imperfect and you are trying to ask too much of yourself, and maybe you need to bring it back a bit and start to prioritize. Actually, these are the things that I need in my schedule, and this is the kind of stuff that I don't need in my schedule. Yeah. And again, that ties into like, have you made your schedule work for you? Like for me, if I've got a lot on, if I don't put things into my schedule that are like little mini rewards or breaks or whatever you want to call it, then I do start to procrastinate and not stick to it. But that's probably something to do with the way that my brain's wired. It could be that you get accountability, it could be sending your schedule to somebody else. Can you go and work with somebody else so that you're actually having to sit and work? Like that's something that I will do. I'll go and work with other people, I'll go to a co-working space, I will sit on Zoom with somebody else. That's obviously extreme examples, but I think sometimes you just need to fucking do it, because the work that you're not doing when you're not sticking to your schedule is the results that you're not getting from whatever you're trying to do. So at the end of the month, when you're sitting there thinking, fucking hell, I'm in the same position, yeah, at some point you've got to kind of take ownership and go, right, I need to make an actual schedule that I can stick to, not this perfect schedule. So it's very hard to say without more context. What would you two say?
I think they're good, mate. I think they're good. I think all those tips work, don't they, for different scenarios, different people. But I love the fact that you ended it on, actually, it also takes some discipline of doing it as well. Like, yes, you can have a different environment, you can do all these things which do help, absolutely. But also, that's not going to fix the problem. Actually, just right, fucking get on with it. You know.
Yeah.
Well,
who is it now? Me?
You're the question master.
Yeah.
I want to launch another 6-week program early next year. Is January too early for an intake? Shall I wait until Feb?
January is not too early. I understand that there is usually there is a delay in people buying for obvious reasons. I don't want to give a depends answer. It's not too early, but it will be too early if you have not built up or created some form of really good plan for December and through the time. Because I genuinely feel that whilst people have that week or two off, they're on their phones a lot. They're sat doing fuck all. So if you've got a decent plan within that time to show up with a level of awareness and interest that gets people showing their hands, you can absolutely launch a really good 6-week program, marketing campaign early Jan, whilst people are in the mindset of I need to take action, right? It depends on that plan, what you do in them 2 weeks prior, 3 weeks prior. If you feel like, actually, I want to switch off, I don't want an intense marketing campaign during that period of time of Christmas, then I would wait, put your intense marketing campaign into January and launch in Feb. So as much as I didn't want to give a depends answer, it does depend on that work capacity. It really does. Or how organised you are, how scheduled it is, what you're asking them to do. But yeah, I feel like sometimes naturally people wait for that first payday to do something like that. And it makes sense. Like I've done it in the past. But I don't think it means to say that you can't do a really good launch within the first couple of weeks of January, as long as you've gone off them conditions that I've just said. Anything you'd add to that?
It's one answer.
My clients don't really do check-ins. Is it worth my tailored to each person, or am I making more work for myself?
That's possibly the last thing you should do. First thing you should do is, well, no, sorry, let me rephrase actually. The first thing you should do is figure out why your clients aren't doing check-ins. Like, more than likely, they don't feel or get the value back from them. So where I would start is individually, like, and I've just read a little bit more information in your check-in, but if you're checking in with them ad hoc throughout the week, you're probably taking a lot of the need off that check-in process anyway. So what I would say is, if you want to save time and get continuity with the process through the check-in, then I would say start with realigning yourself with your client's goals, where they want to be, how they feel, what their challenges are, and then base the check-in process on helping them move forward towards that. So use it for a reason, not because you think you've got to have a check-in. That's the first place I would start. And then that will enable you to maybe personalize things, tailor things, whether it's feedback or whatever, but that's the first place to start.
Yeah, I think this is like really common with people that do a lot of in-person PT. They put a check-in in, but don't really communicate that is part of the service.
Yeah.
So then they're constantly having these conversations in sessions or checking in with people throughout the week. So then people see the check-in as something that's just for the coach. So they're like, well, I've already seen them this week and we've already had discussions. So what's the point in doing that? Rather than getting them to see it as something that's for them as well. The guys that do weekly business reviews, monthly business reviews, it's not just for us to look at, it's for them to get a grasp of where they're at and start to see like, actually, those inputs I'm putting there are giving me what I want. That's probably not where I need it to be. I need to put more focus there. And it's the same for a client. So it's getting them to see that it's not a check-in for me to then come back and, tell. It's for you to take stock of where you're at and maybe see where you're making progress that you haven't been aware of and maybe areas that you need to focus on.
Who's asked the question? Is it me now? How much of your social media content is planned versus spontaneous? Sky?
Me?
Yeah.
Or Anthony?
Yeah. No, you.
I was laughing at you, so I was like, I haven't planned any this week. I've been shit this week, actually. Normally, I'm a week ahead, so I do plan ahead. Sometimes, if something topical has happened, like something in the news or like, I don't know, something that's been spoken about, like everyone was posting about Eddie Abu last week. I didn't, but everybody else did. Like, that's something where it's probably quite spontaneous. When Stephen Bartlett got done, marketing standards, I posted about that. That was spontaneous, but usually it is planned. It's planned based on conversations I've had, in check-in, consultations, just in general with people, or it's part of my overall theme of things that I want to talk about. The main reason I haven't planned any is because I was meant to be marketing my consultancy and it's full, so I've got nothing to market now. Everything's full, so I'm out here chatting shit. But yeah, it's mostly planned.
Do you want me to add to that, Nick?
No?
That's fine. Sky wanted to throw me under the bus there because when Sky first came in, I was pretty unprepared with social media content. But now I'm not that unprepared.
He's on it.
Fuck off. All right.
He just can't get many chat to work, but he is on it.
I wouldn't say I'm on it. I'm a week ahead. And do you know what? Being a week ahead proves to me I need to be longer and get back to 2 to 3 weeks before. Because God, blimey, there's a lot of content going out. Right. Next one. Sky to me.
Is it me?
To me, to you.
How best fucking hell this is going on. We need to wrap this up. To find the balance between being supportive and understanding, but also applying an appropriate amount of pressure on clients to be accountable for their goals.
Okay.
60 seconds, go.
The fact that you're asking that question probably means that there is a person or people in your business that you might need to apply a little bit of pressure to, right? I might be wrong. But how you apply that pressure very much depends on how you understand that person. And if you've had a conversation around how can I get the best out of you? I think having them conversations, normally, I'm telling you now, 80% of people come back and go, I just need you to tell me what to do or a kick up the arse if I'm going off or and all that. That gives you the permission to at least do it a few times. And then you'll have some people that will react well off it, others that don't. So it depends on the client. But I think sometimes I purposely apply it early doors with people to see how they react, depending on the conversation they've had. So if someone's turned around to me and says, yeah, I prefer that direct approach, I just need to be told where I'm going wrong. Okay, cool. I'll try it. And then I'll get them to reflect on if that worked or not. So yeah, have the conversations. How can I get the best out of you? If that comes up, do it. And even if not, just test the water. You'll find out a little bit. It's a coaching relationship. There's going to be times where you'll do things that don't work and other times that do. So yeah, I'd be open to it. Yeah. Was that 60 seconds? Put a bit of heat on me that time then. Next question. Worst client you've ever had? Mine was so stubborn and refused to listen to me about leg press range of movement. In fairness, I wouldn't listen to you about leg press range of movement. I'm going to joke with you. And anything else, really. Another PT approached me and commented how mean I was making them do partials. We were not doing partials. Safe to say we parted ways after that. What a guy, Oscar, isn't it?
One person that sticks out in my mind. It wasn't a one-to-one client. It was more small group, and turned up late every session because they wanted the attention of turning up late. Never listened to the workout. It was just a horrible experience. It was a horrible experience. Like literally, like I'm all about learn from every scenario and every client, but they were just not there to train. They were there to be disruptive and gain attention. Literally, that's it. Literally. So that was mine. Next, my question. I'll ask this to: what type of results or improvements have your students typically seen after working with you?
Typical results. I would probably say, if you could typify, focusing it just on business for a minute. Is that a word, typify?
I don't know, but it was good.
Yeah, it was good. I was surprised by that.
Is it even a word? Typify. You've got so many wrong.
It is. It's a word to be characteristic or representative example of something.
No,
That is the smartest thing you have ever said.
Yeah. And in my head, there's all sorts of things going round about it.
Typify.
I've just typified you. Right. This is terrible. Wow. This is what an hour and 9 minutes does. Anyway, sorry. Typical results are usually, I'll take a standard one, taking a gym floor PT to probably, let's look at revenue, £1.5, what they're currently on, to say 5k recurring months in their business, remodeling their business to not just one-to-one PT, so adding in small group or online, and then doing less hours face-to-face and having more time back, whether that's for the family, to travel, for progressively moving forward, that type of stuff. And more so the results that they get for clients. Like I said before, the fulfilling side of it for us is typically taking a business owner who coaches PTs, but also improves them as a coach by their knowledge around coaching and helping clients to build self-efficacy and stuff like that. So, but the typical business-based results is taking a PT from 2 to 5, 6k recurring months, but remodeling the business within that process of small group or online. Anything you would add to that, Nick? Fantastic. Fuck, there's a lot here, isn't there? Wow.
My question.
I don't know.
I'm going to take it anyway.
Okay.
Your question. What do you do when your business is declining?
Am I answering it now? Am I answering that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't see because your things freeze. Your faces freeze. You're like little robots. What do you do when your business is declining? I think you need to go back to look at what you're putting into your business. Is it that you are not getting leads in? Is it that people are not staying with you very long? Is it that you're not getting results for people? You know, I think anonymous feedback is great. Go back to everybody that you work with, get some feedback on your service, your delivery, your coaching style, really critical feedback so that you can see if there are massive holes in what you're doing. If that's not the case, and actually, you know, it's just that you are doing a great service, but a load of clients have left at once out of the blue, but you're really struggling to get leads, then you obviously need to go out and do more of that and find ways of getting leads in, nurturing them, inviting them into your business. It's really hard without more context.
Yeah.
But I think you need to take the emotion out of it. If that can be a really like emotionally charged thing to be thinking, shit, my business is declining, and whatever that means. It might be financial, it might be that, you know, you've got less clients, and you need to look at what is happening right now. Where is the big hole here?
Do you know what I love about that moment? Sorry to interrupt. Do you know what I love about these moments? And this is where, listen, I know it's stressful when it's not going in the right way. But what I love about it, and this is probably just me as a person, I love the blatant, direct honesty it's providing you with. Mm-hmm. Because usually when you're running a self-employed business, if it's going backwards, it means that you've not done something. So what you need to do is, and I'm dictating a lot, and this is probably applying the pressure from the question before, but you need to have a look at potentially what you've not been doing in a consistent way. And normally that is showing up, getting leads, bringing in clients, doing your marketing, being consistent with the non-negotiable tasks that have to be done every week. Because if you drop them and then clients start to leave, that's the reason why. I love that. Clearly, in the past, I probably would have been stressed and felt like shit, but I love the blatant, direct honesty that it provides you with. Right, my business is going backwards. That proves to me, if I'm coachable, going back to the point before, that proves to me I've not done something. Sweet. What can I learn from that, and how can I take action on it? And hopefully that action isn't inconsistent action, because normally what happens is when your business is going backwards, it means that you'll now take high amount of action, which will get a result, by the way, because you're fortunate in like PTs and coaches, you're fortunate to go, right, I'm going to take an incredible amount of action now. And a lot of PTs get results from that action. But then what you'll do is drop the fucking actions again. What you've got to try and find is before, where I said that process of action. Shit, actually, there's not a blueprint. There's not a magic pill. It's just this over time, and it's tiring. It's knackering. And this is why you need to program in time off, because it is fucking hard. But it's direct feedback that you're not doing something, whether it's nice to hear or not. It's tough shit. Like, you've kind of just got to take it on the chin and go, right, where's the hole? Let me go and fill it and do it in a consistent way. Have that.
Bosh.
Last one, that was it. Done.
That was a graft.
Fucking talking a week off. I might need one after this. Jesus. Heavy that. Heavy.